With a really good understanding of what MongoDB is, where it lives within our web application architecture, and before we can begin creating actual applications that persist data, we need to get MongoDB installed on our computer first. To do that, we're going to go ahead and get a fresh, clean install of MongoDB on top of our macOS. Here I've got a clean macOS, and it doesn't have Mongo installed on it yet. And we're going to go ahead and open up Safari for us. And we are going to do a search on MongoDB and then install on Mac. Right. With that, we should see here under the MongoDB documentation right here to install the Community Edition. That's the one we want right here. Install MongoDB Community Edition on macOS. So go ahead and click on that one. And here we've got ourselves a list of steps to install MongoDB Community Edition on our computer. Now, being that you're most likely following along with all the previous screencasts till we got to this point, your computer should actually already have Homebrew installed on your computer. If it isn't, you'll need to go make sure you run through how to install Homebrew on your computer first before you'll be able to take these steps. So make sure you do that if you don't have Homebrew already installed. So to check, I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal here, and then let's go ahead and do Brew. So Brew says command not found. So that means we're going to go ahead and install Homebrew on our computer. So I'm going to right click on this, open in a new tab. Right here, we've got some instructions on how to install Homebrew on our particular computer. And we can do that right here with this command. So just go ahead and copy that right there. And then we're going to execute it in our terminal. And then we're going to allow it to do what it needs to. And it's going to ask us if we want to continue. Yes, so we're going to click return. It's going to ask us for our user account password. We're going to type that in and hit enter. Oops. There we go. And now it's going to go ahead and install Homebrew for us on our Mac. Now Homebrew, if you haven't watched some of those other videos, Homebrew is simply a package manager that allows us to install third-party packages on our Mac OS without needing to go through the App Store. There's a lot of utilities that we use when we do software development that are not available through the App Store, and we don't necessarily want to have to go download each one's package independently, install them, and then worry about deleting and downloading a bunch of different package files. Instead, Homebrew allows us to do all of that ourselves. So let's check and make sure it works just by installing wget, because we will use wget as a software developer. So let's do brew, install, and then wget. And wget is just a utility that allows us to make HTTP requests across the internet using our terminal. So it's a useful little tool that you may end up using a lot as you get deeper and deeper into your software development. And it looks like Brew is running. It found the wget repository. It's downloading the wget binaries for installation and has installed wget. So now when we type wget, we should get, saying that that it's there. It actually recognized the command, but we didn't add a URL. So it looks like we're good on that. So wget and Brew. So Brew is now installed. Now let's go back here to our instructions for installing MongoDB Community Edition on our computer here. So we are going to go ahead and we need to, of course, tap the MongoDB brew command to add it to Brew first. If you want to know what this means, make sure you go read about Homebrew and what tap means. If you haven't picked up yet, it's all using terminology that has to do with beer. So let's go ahead and do brew, tap, and then MongoDB, and then brew. Hit enter on that. And that adds the MongoDB brew commands to Brew. And now we should be able to go ahead and run this command right here, which is the brew install MongoDB Community Edition. Hit enter on that, and it should begin using the Brew utility to install that package for us. Normally we would have to go to MongoDB, download this zip file, or we'd have to download a package, and then we'd have to run that package, and then we would of course have to then delete it or get rid of that package. Looks like we've got, let's see, got some caveats right here. It says to have launchd start Mongo now and restart at login. Brew services start. If you don't want or need a background service, you can just run MongoDB -- config. Well, we do want it to run as a service, so we are going to want to go ahead and do that. So to have launchd start MongoDB now and restart at login, we're going to go ahead and type this command right here that it gives us, which is brew services start, and then it tells it that we want the MongoDB community to start at login. All right, now it's setting up MongoDB as a service running on our computer. With that, we now should have a fully functioning and running MongoDB server on our computer. And the way we can test that now is to download and install Mongo's database management utility, which provides us a user interface to connect to and look at our MongoDB databases that we'll be using that we'll be creating as we build out an API or a web application. So the name of that utility is actually called Compass. So let's do MongoDB Compass Community Edition. So right there. So download and install Compass from Mongo. Go ahead and click on that, and of course we are using a MacOS. Right here, if we open the download page, and here we got MongoDB Compass, and the latest version, we want the Community Edition stable, MacOS X, and then we're going to click download. We're going to allow it to download to our machine. We can go ahead and close our terminal. Now that we've got Compass installed, we're going to go ahead and go to Applications and then find Compass in our list. Where is our Compass Community Edition? Oh, there it is, MongoDB Compass right there. So we go ahead and open up Compass Community. Now we're going to go ahead and connect to a local MongoDB connection. So right here under New Connection, make sure that one's clicked on. We're going to go ahead and connect to localhost, and we're going to use the exact same port there of 27017. Now all the rest of these can remain at their defaults. Because we're connecting to a local MongoDB, we really don't need authentication, nor do we need to change any of this. So go ahead and click Connect. In here, now I am running a MongoDB instance on my actual developer machine right now. And so I actually have a few more databases than you'll see. You should see just the admin, the config, and then the local databases. These other ones like the Critical Prep API, Database Test, and Portfolio API are actually databases that I already have created on my local developer machine. But what I want you to do is go ahead and practice creating a database by clicking Create Database, and we are going to call this My First Database. And then when you create a MongoDB database, you have to have a collection to begin with. It's like your first collection, and we're going to say My First Collection. Then go ahead and click Create Database, and you should see a new database inside of the list. So you should see admin, config, local, and My First Database. And if you click on My First Database, it will now get you into that database, and you will see a list of collections. Now, we only have the one collection because it's the first collection we created. If you click on that collection, It then takes you into the collection browser, and you'll be able to see any documents that you have added to that collection. As of right now, because it's a brand new database with a brand new collection, we don't have any database documents yet. We will be adding documents when we begin to talk about documents. So right now, we know we have an active database. We know we have the MongoDB Compass community database management tool actually connecting to our active database, and we're going to call that a successful installation.